All right, we are here once and for all, Jonathan, to
For
discuss
all?
for once and for all, once and
Okay.
for all. We are here once and for all to discuss Farm Aid '98. What does that make you? How does that make you feel?
I'm excited to talk about this because it's really cool. Also,
Yeah,
it's like, the podcast might actually be longer than the performance, which is kind of amusing to think of. Uh,
we're gonna
unless
we're gonna
unless we
find
find a
out.
way to keep it tight.
I know there's a lot. There's a lot to talk about. What's going on? How are things?
Good. I think last time I was here I was a little like from the
Yeah,
COVID, and now I'm just only slightly that. So that's good, right?
great. How many like
I
weeks
feel great
later?
though. Yeah,
Okay, good.
like 7 weeks. No, 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
This COVID thing is. I heard it was over, and then I heard it's not over, and it's very confusing.
It's not over.
It's not over, and we're not over because we're talking about Phish on the internet. So today it's me and Jonathan. Jonathan, I
It's been
wonder
a
if
while since it's been just you and I, right?
yeah, I was gonna say, I wonder when it. Do you think it was like 2018 or something?
Back in the way back.
Might have been. I'm
Might
not
have
sure
been.
we've done one of these by ourselves. I'm not sure we've been allowed to do these by ourselves before.
Finally, we've got the reins.
We got the rates. Hello, everyone who's listening and watching. We're going to talk about the Farm Aid '98 show, which conveniently is the anniversary today. So a lot of people have been talking about this on the internet, and Jonathan and I were talking about it before we went live. We're going to argue about a bunch of stuff. There's a lot of arguments to be
I bet
had
we're going
here.
to agree, but I'm going to pick
Probably.
arguments with the greater internet. I've got beef. I've got bones to pick, beefs to. What do you do with the beef? You have a beef.
I think
I
you
don't even
settle it,
know.
maybe.
I'm going to settle them. I don't care what anybody else thinks.
Well, we are gonna dive into it. I will tell everybody that we are in the middle of season 4 of Undermine. If you haven't listened yet, you should. Spoiler alert: we recorded an episode with Jonathan as a guest on Friday. That was fun.
That was fun. That was fun.
That's
Can we
gonna
talk
come
about that?
out,
We're
and
allowed to talk about that. Okay, cool.
yeah, why not?
I
Why
don't know.
not?
I'm not.
Yeah,
It's your thing. Am I spoiling it by saying that was awesome? And spoiler alert. I was really into the show that we discussed.
you were, as was I, and I think
Yeah,
Tom was sort of like learning along with our excitement, which is fun.
I think he was into it though.
We are having so much fun. We just put out today was episode 7. We're doing 46 episodes, so we got some more to go.
Um, that's crazy.
I know, but
That's
it's
a
fun.
lot.
It's gonna be so fun. It's gonna be so fun.
It's fun. It's already fun.
It's already fun. But you guys should subscribe, and if you want some like ad-free podcasts or some bonus content kind of stuff, you could subscribe to Osiris Premium on Apple, and that would do that for you. It's $4.99 a month, and it mostly features Jonathan, Megan, and I just talking about stuff. But $4.99 is like it's not much.
Can you get coffee for that?
You
Like
can get
shitty coffee, at least. Like,
yeah. I don't think
yeah,
you can get like a really large, really good coffee for that.
yeah.
So
Seems like a deal.
Exactly. And I think a couple people have asked, but we should just say Brian is taking a little bit of a break, but he's around. And for those of you who are, asking about Brian, he's around. Um,
We love Brian.
and he's healthy and well. He's just working on some stuff, so he'll be back. Megan right now is working on some stuff, and she'll be back. So that's how it goes.
Megan will be back like Wednesday, I think.
I
I mean,
think
she's just not here today. She's not even really gone.
she's not even really gone. She's actually here. Kind of like when you're not on the show, but you're commenting in the chat.
That happens less than you think, I think.
I know, but it's fun. Okay,
Yeah.
so Jonathan, so Saturday, October 3rd, 1998, the New World Music Theater, which
Tinley
was
Park.
Tinley Park. It was called Tinley Park then, right? Or
I
was it always
mean,
called New World?
it was the New World Music Theater in Tinley Park, Illinois, which is
Okay.
in, I think, greater Chicagoland.
Yeah. I saw a Phish show there in summer of '97.
Cool.
It was a pretty shitty venue from what I remember, but that doesn't matter.
It
It's
wasn't
not
new.
important. No. What is Farm Aid?
Well, Farm Aid is it's aid for farms. No,
Okay.
so like during Live Aid, Bob Dylan apparently said from the stage, "Wouldn't it be great if we did something for our own farmers right here in America?" And Willie Nelson, Neil Young, and John Mellencamp decided to do that. And so they put together this organization to help family farmers in dire need of assistance, direct aid, as well as legislative work and all of that kind of, charitable action and stuff. And the first Farm Aid was held in 1985 in Champaign, Illinois.
Okay.
And then they had a whole bunch of them. They had it pretty much every year. One year, I want to say 1989, Farm Aid went on the road. It was basically Willie's summer tour. And then,
Nice.
and they back and forth every year in the fall, after the crops are in.
Yeah.
And in 97, they went back to Illinois, Tinley Park, and this one in 98. Here we are.
That is, thank you for that. And so I realize that is I didn't know it was that long. Like going on that long. But it's good. A bunch of Midwestern guys and Canadians started it, basically. Well, I guess Willie's not Midwestern, but Mellencamp is, Dylan is.
Yeah, Dylan, I don't
Right?
think is technically involved in it. His comment inspired it, if you will.
He was like, someone start this, and then people were like, okay.
And then somebody did. Yeah. Let's see.
Imagine if that
Also,
worked like that in our lives, like on this
yeah, right.
podcast, where we say like Phish should start playing,
My backyard.
like the A Train.
That
And they
too.
don't. That day.
I wanted to say that also that year, 98, on the bill, there were a bunch of groups, but some notables include Steve Earle, the Del McCoury Band, and Wilco.
Wow.
Yeah.
There was a lot, right? I mean, there's a lot of.
It's like a whole day of music. John Mellencamp played, and and all of these guys. Neil played solo. Willie, of course, played somewhere, not just with Phish. And I'm getting ahead of it. That this and the Bridge School benefits, where Phish also played, are the only shows that Neil Young played all year.
No shit.
Yeah.
And they're all in the same like month-ish of time.
Yeah,
right?
they're like 2 weeks later or something.
Okay. All right. Well, that's interesting. Thank you for enlightening us. So we were talking about this before we started. So I remember watching this. I was a sophomore in college, so I remember watching it with my friends sitting on a couch in the house that we lived in, and I thought we paid for it, but you didn't pay for it.
Hell no, I had cable, and it was on country music television.
Not paying for this Farm Aid.
Farm stuff. I mean, I'll send them $1, but I have basic cable. Let me watch it. Maybe your friend wasn't such a good friend, and they were like, if I make him give me $5, we could just put on this basic cable channel.
Maybe. Is it possible?
Hopefully, they used it for the keg.
Maybe we didn't have cable in that house, but I wonder if we watched it through the internet. Like I felt like I streamed it, but I don't know. But I do distinctly remember watching it.
Yeah, I know I watched it, but
and it was the last. It was the last act, right? This was the last. This is the end.
It's the end of the broadcast. I think, from what I've read in some reviews, that John Mellencamp played later, like after, but it doesn't really play like that when you watch it on the thing. So somebody else's memory may be a little befuddled. I don't really know. But the part that matters is the part that we were to talk about.
That's fair. That's a good point. And so Phish in 98, fall 98 specifically, they were, I mean, they obviously played that, pretty significant summer tour in 98. and then played some shows in the fall. But this is sort of in the middle, right?
I mean, like Fall '98 is weird in some respects, like particularly the October stuff. So Phish, like, they have an album coming out. Story of the Ghost comes out at the end of the month, like the 27th or something, 28th, 27th. And so they're doing this is that kind of thing like in 2000 where Phish shows up everywhere you wouldn't expect. So they show up at Farm Aid. 2 weeks later, they do Bridge School. They played the Fillmore the night before. They played the Bridge School, Fillmore in San
Right.
Francisco, which is, a club show in the U.S. That was kind of a big deal. I had friends who flew out for it in Bridge School, and I think they thought the show itself was underwhelming, but it was still cool.
Yeah.
They did sessions at West 54th, which is they taped that in October. I don't think it aired that month. And which is of course with David Byrne.
Hmm.
And then they played Letterman the day the album came out. And then they did the Greek in LA and then Vegas for Halloween, where they played Loaded. And I wonder if they told David Byrne that they were about to play Loaded like 4 days later.
That's a good question. We should find out.
Like, come on. What do you think,
Yeah.
David? Do you think this is a good choice? We did your record once, right?
Yeah. So
that's tangential.
I think
but it's
what
interesting
we
moment,
should
right?
find out. Yeah. Yeah, they were. I mean, the Fall '98 tour is so. I mean, like the November shows are
Yeah.
really pretty awesome. Like there's some really great shows. The UIC shows and the Cincinnati show. There's a lot of good stuff in '98.
Absolutely.
There's 2 shows at Hampton that I think are famous that I went to.
Yeah, they were the first shows I went to with my now wife.
Look at that. See, we're making connections all over the place. So they were in the middle of this, like, yeah, kind of a strange. It was a little bit strange that they were the touring schedule also was just like a little weird.
Yeah, I mean, tour starting end of October, running through November, basically.
Yeah.
Not the way they do it now, but I'm sure there are plenty of people who would be excited if that were about to happen.
Yeah, I would like that. And they also did an island tour that spring, which, man, that was really fun. That was really great. But that's
pretty
not why
good
we're
stuff.
here, is it?
That's not why we're here. That's a very tangential, very off there, out there.
All-
Where are you?
All in
Read the
same-
document. Catch up,
all
man.
the same year, though.
Yes.
Okay.
That's true.
So I think I've pretty much only, besides that night, maybe, I don't think I really go back and listen to this whole set ever. Do you?
I have, but I mean, the things you most need to hear are the Runaway Gym and Down by the River. Every now and then, listening to the Willie Nelson stuff, it does warm the heart. It's really nice.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think that part is almost better if you're watching it because you can really see Willie Nelson. You can see the grin on Trey's face. You can see Paul Schaefer on Page's organ.
Yeah.
You know, all that stuff it's really cool.
It's really cool. It's really cool. And so this set, I mean, I think I thought well, especially if you watch the video, which you should definitely do, the Birds of a Feather, and then Trey talks a little bit about the factory farm in Vermont that they helped to, that people helped to stop the expansion of, and then the MoMA dance, Trey's like going nuts. He's going nuts on the video, and it's for like a one set benefit show. It's pretty wild. Maybe he was just getting fired up about what was to come.
I think as far as festival sets go, this one really like nails it. It actually blows out expectations. Like the MoMA's a rocker. Birds is good, kind of rips, but it stays pretty tight, I think.
Yep.
But yeah, the MoMA's a rocker. And yeah, I think, clearly there was a plan here and he's excited.
Yeah. Well,
the video unfortunately cuts off the beginning of Runaway Gym. But
yeah, so what was that? What was that all about?
Commercials.
Yeah.
That's all. Yeah.
Yeah. And
because it was on commercial television.
It was on commercial television. Josh says Phish's hat is awesome. It is. It like made me made me like do a second take on the date. So I was like, is this like in the middle of January, but then I remembered that it was on this date.
It was cold though, by according to reports, cold and I think rainy. I'm not.
hmm.
I may be remembering that part, but cold for sure. People testified all day long. So yeah, I mean Chicago. It's October. It can happen,
Yeah,
right?
it can happen. It can definitely happen. I mean, it happened today in October in Philadelphia. It's cold.
There you go.
It's like 40. I think it's 48 degrees right now. It's nuts.
What?
Yeah.
That is nuts. Yeah, no.
It's also been raining for days and days. I don't
Come
know
back to
when it's
Virginia.
going to end. I know. I do. I need to. Okay. Okay. So when do we get to talk about this runaway gym situation when Neil Young comes in? Is that now?
Um, well, let's see. Have we gone far enough? Have we drawn it out enough? Have we teased it enough?
I think we have. I think we have.
I well, let's we haven't actually done. Let's tell everybody this entire set list.
Okay.
This is like run it down completely before and then we can break down the key bits, right? So,
Okay.
may I do it?
Please. I
I'll do
would
it.
love that.
So, as we mentioned, they opened with Birds of a Feather. Trey has a few things to say about farms. Excuse me, and their senators from Vermont, including Mr. Sanders. They play Farmhouse, apropos, maybe. MoMA Dance, Runaway Jim, which jams into Down by the River. And Neil Young comes out for that jam, sticks around, sings Down by the River. And then Moonlight in Vermont. At this point, Willie Nelson is out there on guitar. Paul Schaefer is joined Page on the keyboards. And they do Will the Circle Be Unbroken, into Amazing Grace, into Uncloudy Day to end the set. Pretty cool.
I want to just the farmhouse where Trey starts giving a little speech. That's like the most I've heard him say about anything ever in public in terms of like a social call
On a
to action.
political or cause
Yeah.
sort of thing. Yeah, I don't think certainly from a Phish stage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's cool to get, first of all, Patrick Leahy and Bernie Sanders, who are still the two senators from Vermont. And Leahy is still there. I think he's
It's not my
retiring now.
state. Maybe.
I think he's
around.
retiring soon, or if he's not retiring, he definitely should, because he's been there for a long time. But that's not that important to this. But it's cool to hear Trey talk about that, and to say like that they believe in what they're doing and all that. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's cool.
What? Okay, go ahead.
No, I won't.
Well, I want to just ask what is. Well, I think we like the MoMA Dance is cool. There's a good jam there. And otherwise, like, then it goes into Runaway Jim, and that's when we really start the set. But what the hell is Arc? Because I was watching, and I've watched this video and listened to the set so many times.
Let me tell you.
Okay.
Arc is not a song.
Okay.
Arc should not be written on Phish.net. Arc is an album that Neil Young put out. So in 1991, he released a 3 CD live album documenting the Crazy Horse tour that followed. I think it was a Ragged Glory, and that set was called Arc Weld. And Weld is the standard 2 CD song oriented set, and Arc was this sound collage of these feedback laden jams, the things that don't make the standard live album, but are pretty dope in the moment in a Crazy Horse show. He edited them they edited them together into a 35-minute single track, which later was released separately from Weld. So Weld was just released again later as a 2 CD. And by later, I mean like later that year. And Arc is a single disc. And so Arc is a sound collage thing. If you go to the Neil Young setlist database, Sugar Mountain, Arc is not a song that has ever been performed, because it's not a song.
Until now.
It's not a song. What we have here on 10-3-98 is Runaway Jim into a jam. I will agree that Runaway Jim ends. Neil Young comes out and they jam. They don't really stop, but that song is over. And then we have a jam that ensues and leads into Down by the River, which has itself a jam. If they're going to say that an extended jam with Neil Young should be called Arc, then it should be Down by the River into Arc. But it's not, because it's not. It's just a jam. So I'm actually a little hot to see this on this set list.
It's sort of the opposite of like what Live Phish does when they call the jam Columbia Jam or something, so they're not paying royalties. We're putting songs in.
There's no royalties. There's no song. It's just a jam. It's really amazing to watch. Like, it's cool to hear. It's really cool music, but watching it is really neat. One of the interesting things, we've talked to Ryan from Trey's Guitar Rig a couple times and had him on the show. And, one of the things he would tell you, and anybody who's tried to play a guitar like a Languedoc or a Languedoc itself, is that hollow body guitar wants to feed back at high volume. And you can see Neil discovering that. Like, not that he hasn't experienced it with some other guitar, but he's walking out with a Languedoc guitar. First, we've mentioned that really here, but it's worth noting he's not playing one of his guitars. Neil only played solo when he did his set at Farm Aid, so he probably didn't even have an electric rig in the house.
Okay, got it. I was wondering why he didn't have a guitar, but that
right.
Makes sense.
So he's playing the Marmar guitar, one of Trey's Languedocs, and it wants to feed back, and it does. It's very quick to do it, and he starts playing with that and working with that and grappling with it. And I think it does an outstanding job because, of course, he's Neil freaking Young. Yep. He can do that. It's so fun to watch the two of them kind of like.
Yeah.
Trey almost starts mimicking Neil and is jumping around.
I was like, I don't remember that, but it's very clear at this point, like on the video, that he's just like kind of doing what Neil does, which is fine. I mean, who wouldn't,
He's so stoked. Like, Trey is so excited. And Mike, by the way, you don't get a lot of shots of like Fishman's face, so you can't really see, or Paige, but you can see Mike. He's grinning too. Neil's got this like fedora, falls off in the middle of one of the jams. That's so great, man. It's just so fun to watch him just tear it up.
Yeah. I forgot that he had short hair
and a beard.
And he's just like going off. It's really amazing. And, I think many people watching and listening probably have the same memory I do, which is basically like you remember every note of this jam. It's just so great.
I just remember the oh shit moment of Neil Young is on stage with Phish.
Yeah.
Shit. Oh shit.
So did we know this was going to happen? Because when I remember watching it and gathering around on the couch to watch it, did we know that it was happening? Or we were just hoping that.
No, I mean, sit-ins, I think, are not unusual for this kind of event. But I mean, I don't think we had any real inkling. It made the people going to the bridge school all the more excited because they were like, Neil sat in with him there, he's going to sit in with him here. So those people probably, felt like they knew something. And they were right.
Yeah, and Mark, who's watching on YouTube, says Trey has the biggest smile once Neil starts singing. So you can tell they are definitely just. They're loving it. Maybe that's why Trey was like raging that MoMA jam. It was like really, really excited.
He knew. Yeah. How about this? Reminds me though of how about the unusual visual of Trey and Mike sharing a microphone to do backing vocals.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. Yeah, I hate to do this during this podcast, but I have to say, now that we're talking about that, the smile that you see on Trey's face reminds me of the smile that I saw on Rick's face when Trey sat in with Goose at Radio City and started soloing over playing one of Rick's solos. Sort of like another.
Is there a torch on stage at Farm Aid?
There's no torches. The torch thing is not real, but
okay.
But it's cool. But it's cool to see. You know,
Yeah, of
I get,
course.
do you like my mug?
Keep wooking. Yeah, I
Keep
like
on
that.
looking. It's from the guys at Mr. Dude. They're nice. Um,
Right on.
is it time? Can we? Do you think we should watch like 45 seconds of this jam?
Hell yes. Can we do
Okay,
that?
I'm gonna try. Let me
Okay,
see if
I'm
it
ready.
works. You ready?
I'm going to have a hard time not talking over it.
See if this works. Man, look at Trey.
Yeah. He's getting down. Dropped his pick.
I mean,
If only
that's pretty
Mike
awesome.
if only Mike were still playing the Languedoc bass, we would have had a
Yeah.
row of Languedocs.
Yeah,
over
yeah,
here.
yeah. All right. All right.
That's so
Sorry
cool,
to
man.
stop it, but it's
Yeah.
wow. That's
It's
just
out there, y'all.
it's out there. You guys should just watch the whole thing. And it was a good point when we were prepping. I was sort of like, I can just listen to it, and then like I think you said, like you got to watch.
You gotta watch.
Got to watch the video. You got to watch the video. So now that I think about it, and this isn't really wasn't planned, but it does remind me so much of this of Trey now as the elder statesman sitting in and he did that with Billy Strings too, right? Like just sitting in
Yeah.
with the next generation of rockers. What do you think? What do you think?
24 years ago, right?
24 years ago. What do you think Neil Young knew about Phish at that point? Like, do you think he was do you think he knew like, or do you think he maybe thought they were like kind of like the Grateful Dead or something?
So somebody clearly got Neil hip to Phish, right? Because Farm Aid is one thing. Elektra gets involved, whatever. People are promoting records. But Bridge School is a little different. So somebody obviously hipped Neil to Phish at some point in that year. And some element of it clicked. And it must have been like, these guys can jam. I would have to think that that's the thing, because Neil is, no disrespect to Phish songs, because I hope everybody at this point knows that I love Phish songs. Neil is probably not looking at Stash and going, I want these guys out here for their songs, but he is probably listening to a Stash, maybe a Stash jam or in some other jam or something on a live one maybe, and going, these guys can play. I want to get with that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's got to be.
Yeah. 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 It's a good point. I also just think like, well, you made a note in here about the sit-in. So like also the
Yeah,
festival set, because I think if this is a festival, which I guess it is,
it is one day, but it's a festival.
I feel like most bands are not that psyched to do the one set festival drop in, right? Just like it's not. I think even Paluska said that in our interview with him for Undermine. Sort of like that's just
Yeah.
not where they were best able to do what they wanted to do. But I don't. Maybe some bands do like it, but this seems like an exception. But do you think that's generally true? Like, do you think that the one set thing is like a little bit of a
I mean, I think plenty of bands going out and playing an hour works for them. There are plenty of bands that do just fine with that. I'm not here to name names, but there are plenty of bands that we all know and like that are suited just fine for that on any given Saturday. Phish is arguably very much not, but I think they pull it off here because they want to, and the Neil Young thing sweetens the deal.
yeah
A lot. And Willie Nelson. Like, we haven't really talked about Willie Nelson being
yeah
out there. Like, I'm sorry. Like, okay, it's not a big jam when Willie Nelson comes out, but let me just say, Willie throws down some licks.
You gotta say though, that
He
is such a
does.
different, but it's such a different vibe when they like going
Totally
from
true.
down by
Totally
the
true.
river to Moonlight in Vermont. It's sort of
But it's
like
gorgeous. And the
it
fact
is,
that he went
it
to,
is.
Moonlight in Vermont when he's on stage with Phish,
Yeah,
like there's some, it's not like, they roll Willie Nelson out there and have him play a song because it's the end of his festival, like Willie's down
yeah,
and,
yeah,
it's freaking great. It's great.
yeah,
Also, Paul Schaefer, who, you know, he knows Phish. They know him at this point and
yeah.
have known him for a few years, and they're going to see him in, 3 weeks. Um, Comes out and plays on Page's gear, and I think it's just terrific. I think it's just a great way to end the whole thing.
It's really beautiful, but it's such a different. It's very jarring to be like, oh shit, we're not in this 20-minute guitar jam where like Trey. By the way, like we've talked a lot on this podcast over the years about Trey's guitar playing, obviously,
Really?
but
Have we? I
it's
don't know.
I
It's
mean
room
just
for
like
more.
just the little fills that he does when Neil's like singing are pretty outrageous. Like I kind of forgot that not that he's not great now, he is, but like some of those little like riffs he's playing, I'm like, holy shit, that's really fast and really like kind of outrageous.
Well, it's rock and roll. Like when they're in the song Down by the River, that's a kind of a straight ahead song. It's not that I've played it. If I
Yeah.
can get through that song, anybody can get through that song. Trey can just kill it in his sleep. And, he's clearly awake and has no trouble rocking the shit out of it. Uh,
There's so many great live versions from Neil Young where Neil's just playing one note for like 6 minutes, Like
yeah,
you can
and
do
it's
that.
always good when he does that.
You can do that. He can do that. Trey played a lot more than one note. It's really
Trey
pretty great.
so there was the rumor, particularly after Bridge School, but at this time, there was a lot of talk uh, in the fan base. I have no idea how real any of it was about, maybe Fish and Neil Young will tour and they'll back Neil and they'll play a set or something. We'll get like a sort of like the Pearl Jam thing. You remember the Pearl Jam that, the Neil did an
Yeah.
album,
Yeah.
Mirror Ball, and a tour with Pearl Jam, which is
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um, except jammier,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
How cool would
You're-
that have been? Would it have been cool?
I think it would have been cool. I think there's no way, there's no way it's ever happening, but I
Well, it
think it would be cool.
would have had to happen in, say, not arguably 99,
Yeah.
and the boat was missed clearly, or it was never there. It never
Yeah.
was real. So it's purely speculation on alternate timelines. Maybe somewhere in
Yeah.
the multiverse there was a
Yeah.
Fish Neil Young tour.
I think that's probably true. But you know, something about this sit-in idea though. Can we just talk for a second about how many Fish sit-ins were not good?
I mean, I'm not here to talk about things that aren't good necessarily, but I will acknowledge that they are not often beloved.
There, actually at this very venue where I saw my first ever summer tour show, which was August 8th, 97. I mean, it wasn't that bad. It was at the Encore. They had Sugar Blue on harmonica for Hoochie Coochie Man and Messing with the Kid. And it was fine. Totally fine. But like necessary, not really, you know?
I think it's unusual and weird to segments of the audience when Fish brings somebody out that is that they respect, maybe
Hmm.
an influence on them, but doesn't sound like them. Um, but I think that's just because Fish has crafted such a unique sound and
Yeah.
existence that except when they put down their regular instruments and set up in like the 94 bluegrass formation, which they haven't done since 98 at Farm Aid, maybe. I mean, at
Yeah.
Bridge School. Anyways, um, except when they're doing stuff like that, they don't really sound like any other kind of music. And so it's jarring almost to hear them back Sugar Blue. It's jarring to hear them back BB King, and maybe more so when it goes on for 20 some minutes or whatever it was. There's a great comment here from the Incredible Perp, always with the good comments. Best sit-in after Neil was Del McCory at Oswego. I was about to make the case for that because
That's a good
that's
call.
a pretty good one.
Yeah. And also because Jonathan, you and I both got to meet and interview and hang out with Del, like basically he can do whatever he wants, you know?
Oh yeah, no, he gets a full pass.
It's like come hang out the whole time. He's hilarious and what a sweet dude.
Sweet
That's
dude.
a good call. And I guess like Oswego was sort of a not that we're not talking about Oswego, but sort of like a festival slash like there were Sun Seals did a sit in, Del McCurry band did a sit in. Sort of a weird 2-day thing. Was it a festival? Like not officially, but would you consider it a
Yeah, that's the
festival?
thing. It was like it's a festival, but it's not a festival. We're gonna do a festival, but we're not gonna do all the festival things because we're working on something else. Big Cypress.
Yeah, that's what I heard. That happened, didn't it?
Pretty sure that went down. Otherwise,
Man.
what was I doing in a cow field in southern Florida?
You'll never know. What else are you like reflecting on going back to this?
It kind of back to what I was saying at the beginning, which is this is just like a weird moment for the band. They're promoting a record. Most of the material isn't that new to the audience, but they're doing all of these things that put them in front of other people. And I think they're doing it very well, which is not always like Phish doesn't always get credit for, showing up. Some people like, they play Letterman, but they don't play the song from the new record or for good reasons, perhaps, as we learned on Undermine not too long ago. And they, I think that they did a really good job of it at this time. And the Sessions of West 54th is an outstanding appearance. This is outstanding. Bridge School is really cool. They're having their little kind of rock star moment too, because it's not just that they're doing all these promotional things, but they're like playing these festivals with these big names and interacting with them, rubbing
Yeah.
elbows with them, like playing with REM at Bridge School. And they don't sit in with REM, but surely they are like, hey, Michael Stipe, how you doing? Michael Stipe gets weird, walks away. But Bill Berry was probably cool. Anyways, and sitting in with having Sarah McLachlan sing with them and all these other like that's really like big mainstream stuff for 1998. And Phish, we don't really think of them as a mainstream act, but here they were just kind of skimming along that for a moment.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, all those acts at Farm Aid were, they're big band. Like Hootie was there, Brian Wilson, Martina McBride. I mean, they're it's a very mainstream group, including Neil Young and then Phish. And here we are,
Yeah.
I think this is pretty great. I mean, that jam is just wow. That should be up there, just in the pantheon of jams.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that just that two songs with the jams, Runaway Jim, Jam, Down by the River, greatest. I mean, as a Neil Young fan alone, as a Phish fan who's a Neil Young fan, like it is like maximum ideal. Like, especially given like I'm a BB King fan, but I don't really listen to when BB King sat in with Phish. Yeah, because it didn't go down like this.
Well, I think this is. I wish John Mellencamp would have come out and just done like Jack and Diane at the end with Paul Schaefer and Willie. You know?
I think a 25-minute Pink Houses would have been really dope.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. That's true. Neil, who's watching on Facebook, says Sid felt like immediate legitimacy in writing off Phish as never being as good as the Dead was such an annoying, pervasive thing at the time. It's true.
Yeah.
Kind of is still. Well, maybe not still, but it was for a long time.
But 98 was also like, I mean, it was that summer that they played Terrapin. So the Phish put it to bed. They were like, they moved past it. Whether the press was never, probably still hasn't moved past it, but some of them, but Phish moved past it that summer for sure. And then,
Why
in
don't
the
we ever
spring
talk
they
about
played
that
with
show,
Phil.
by the way?
What's that?
They did. Why don't we ever talk about that Virginia Beach show? That was one of the best shows I've ever seen live.
Because I'm pissed I didn't go.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
I guess that's that. What a stunning, but that's a good point. That is like, this is kind of putting that all behind them and really like stepping into a different level.
Yeah.
I like it.
At the same time, that summer they put all of the Jane's Addiction comparisons to bed. And the
Smashing Pumpkins,
the Beastie Boys comparisons, no more of that.
What a wild year. 98 was a strange year. I feel like
a hell of a summer, man.
It's crazy. I saw a lot of shows that summer, but I still feel like, or that year in total, but I feel like we need to go. I think we need to go deep on 98. I guess maybe next year as the 25th anniversary. Maybe we should go deep on summer 98 next year.
Yeah, I could be talked into that.
It's better than going into 2.0, don't you think?
Yeah, I've done that recently enough.
All right. Well, this is fun, Jonathan. And despite your prediction that our discussion would be longer than the actual set, I think we made it under the radar.
Because I've got more. No, I'm kidding.
I know. What else? What else you got?
No, I think that's the gist.
What I got is, I got to tell you about Sunset Lake CBD. And Sunset Lake CBD's line of smokable hemp products are for the old deadhead or young Phish fan. Both of those people are here now. If you're searching for a mellow body high, smoking CBD has all the benefits of high THC cannabis without some of the side effects that people can experience. Jonathan is holding up the Cherry Abacus pre-rolls. They have 9 different strains from this year's harvest. We got to hang out with Cy from Sunset Lake up at Nectar's a couple weeks ago, and they have new nighttime gummies with melatonin that are specifically designed to help you sleep. I know Megan is a fan of those. They have a bunch of topicals and all kinds of flower, and everything is shipped directly from their farm to your door. They're really great, and we're all big fans. Fast.
They're shipping, like when you click completing your order or whatever the button is that you click, it gets to your door like super quick too, which is really nice.
So you don't want to wait too long. But so go to sunsetlakecbd.com, use the code HFPod for 20% off. It helps support us, helps keeping us doing what we're doing. I don't think that's a real sentence, but there we are. But
you said it.
I said it. We're going to be back on Wednesday, and Megan's going to be back. Megan has organized a conversation for Wednesday, and it's going to be fun. I think Megan's got all this like West Coast experience that she's bringing. How do you feel about this Shoreline 2000 conversation that we're about to have on Wednesday?
Well, I'm sorry I'm going to miss it, but because it's Wednesday. But I'm excited to hear it.
It's a bittersweet time, right? Like it's the last shows before the hiatus, but it's sort of like 2004 to me. I know what's coming, so I'm like, I can't really go deep. So I'm excited that we're gonna go deep.
Well, I mean, I kind of it's funny because we just did the 9/14 2000 show.
Yeah.
And I kind of alluded to the West Coast run in that, because the September stuff, the East Coast stuff was pretty good, which isn't to say the West Coast wasn't good. But by the time they Vegas happened, and everything after Vegas was like it was a heady sprint.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
people were going hard.
Yeah, and it was
And
heavy. It was heavy for everybody.
And it was emotionally heavy, which is part of the fuel.
Yeah.
But there was also
Yeah.
fuel.
There's
Anyways,
fuel.
I
We're going to
can't
talk
wait to
about that.
hear what Megan and her and the guests have to say about those shows.
We're gonna pick it up on Wednesday afternoon. We'll be live on video at 4:30 Eastern, and we will be on podcasts shortly thereafter. So thank you guys for listening. And I guess before we go, I just want to say that we are big fans of the people over at Free, Fans for Racial Equity. They are doing great work trying to facilitate engagement around race and its intersection with other issues. They're trying to empower fans to challenge discrimination and systemic oppression wherever they see it. You can get involved with Free by going to fansforracialequity.org. That's, of course, with a PH. Or sharing the groove at a free table during a show. They're great people, and they're at every show. So,
yeah, they're great. Check them out.
Yeah. And thank you, Jonathan, for joining me for this. It was fun. Do you think they'll let us do it again?
I hope so.
I hope so, too. It was fun. And thanks to everyone watching and listening. We'll see you guys in a couple of days. Till then, Jonathan.
See ya.
Bye-bye.